everybody, it's Mike Taggart at attainableflies.com. I wanted to stop in and say hello. I haven't had a lot of chances to do videos here lately. I've done a whole lot of outdoor events over the past couple of weeks. It's that end of spring, start of summer season where picnics are going on and festivals are happening, and I'm going to places and tying flies. I want to shout out to my friends at River Rock Outfitters for hosting me to do introduction to fly tying classes and the wonderful folks who showed up for them. I also want to shout out to my dear friends at the Appalachian Fly Fishing Festival. We had a wonderful festival. We had hundreds of people came by the booth. We gave out a lot of information about us out there. Along with that, we had a wonderful Bugs and Suds event at Big Timber Logging Camp Brewery in Davis, West Virginia. That was absolutely a blast. Some great tires. The folks from Precision Fly Shop were there. Fiber Dubbing Flies were there. A whole bunch of tires from as far away as Connecticut were there. So it was great to see everybody. Want to remind you, coming up June 28th, 2026, I'm going to be hosting Bugs and Suds at the Box Office Brewery in Strasburg, Virginia. It's over on Main Street over there. Great little brewery, and I'm going to be hosting that. There's going to be prizes. There's going to be games. It's put on by Matt Spade and Matt Spade Guide Service out there. He's a wonderful guy. MattSpadeFlyFishing.com. With that said, the fly that I'm teaching is the Yellow Sallie. This time of year, Yellow Sallies are a mayfly that pop up usually later in the evening, and they are bright, bright yellow. You cannot miss them. When the Yellow Sallies are out, you know they're out. And the fish absolutely go gaga for them. So the fly that you see is very simple to tie, as is all the flies that I teach you, and you can jump out there and do it. Along with everything else, I want to remind everybody that the Fly Fishers International Fly Tying Group is open to members to come in and learn as we do this. So if you're more interested in fly tying, go on ahead, join FFI, join the fly tying group, and get to tie with some of the greats like Hello everyone. This is the sulfur dun that I tie for my area. This time of year, and it's mid-June, the sulfur hatch is happening all around us here, and we're going to tie one of these bright yellow flies. It's a bright yellow mayfly. You see them a lot in the evening times. You can't miss them. They look like little bright yellow flecks flying all around. They're just absolutely delightful. The fish love them. So we're going to start with some 72 denier. That's Magpie. This is their polyester twist. And this is a really fun red because it's got really good color to it. I don't know what Steven's doing over there at Magpie, but he is doing a wonderful job with his dye lots and things. His colors never seem to disappoint. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a bright yellow, just a regular old hen hackle here that I've gotten, and I'm going to find some of these longer fibers back here because I'm going to use those as a tail. Let me just fluff these out and let me see what kind of length I can get out of these. We don't need many, just enough to make some tailing. Now if you look at a a Yellow Sallie under a magnifying glass, they do have the classic mayfly tails. So we're going to just take these fibers, get rid of the jumper there. I'm going to measure these about the hook length. I'm going to transfer that back over. I'm just going to catch that in. I'm going to trap that down. Now I'm going to just tighten it, keep those fibers up on the hook. I'm going to work that material right on over. And all I did was just pluck it right off the stalk there. That gives me a little bit of unevenness back here, and somehow the fish around here seem to like that. I'm going to bring this back just to where the hook point, or to the bend of the hook right there. Now, this is something that is interesting. I've started trying, I'd like my dry flies to be as buoyant as possible. And so I've started using thread as a ribbing. So for this ribbing, I'm using sheer. Let's see if I can get that in focus. There we go. 14-aught sheer. And this color is called cinnamon. If you buy sheer thread, that's a real pretty color. It's got a nice brown tone to it. I'm just going to snip a little of this off. You could use any brown thread that you would like, but this is a fun, nice ribbing, and I'm just going to catch that in on my side over here. Just loop that over there. I'm just going to grab it with my thread. I'm not too worried about trying to worry about the bulk of this, because the thread is so fine, it's not going to matter on my taper overall. Now, then I'm going to come in and start to build my taper. And I'm going to come back and forth, go to the 2/3 point, then come back to the halfway point, then come forward and come back halfway down on that. And that builds my nice little taper that I've got going on there. Now at this point, I want to go on ahead and let my bobbin untwist while I get ready for the next thing. Now, the next thing that I put in is a little bit of poly yarn, and this is going to be in a light gray dun colored. This is a hairline product. And in order to prep this, I've got to cut it to the length I want. And for those of you that follow me a lot, you know that I use this quite exclusively for wings for my dry flies. Now, I'm taking about a quarter of that whole puff of yarn, and I'm just going to trap it up under here. Get my little extra thread out of the way for the moment. We'll get back to that in just a minute. We're just going to trap that right up under. And everybody's screaming. They're saying, Mike, 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 wait a minute. Why are you putting your wings so far back? Because I'm going to tie them down like this. And I'm going to get that tied in good and tight. Then I'm going to pull them back. So let's bring that up and put a couple of wraps right there just to hold it. Now, on this wing, I'm going to come in and separate that about even, and then do a couple of quick figure eights. Yes, I did. I caught my other thread and just lay that over the top here. Tie that down. How about that? Do my figure eights. I bumped the camera. Let me just adjust just a little bit. Again, I have to do my figure eight slow because I tend to slip when I do them. Then I'm going to take one or two little posting wraps right around the base of those, and that will pull them a little closer together. I think one in this case is plenty. You saw that just kind of V together. You can push this back, and there you go. Keep my little ribbing thread there off to the side. Now, the next material I'm going to use is dubbing, and I'm using, I don't know if you can see it there, this is Fiber Dubbing Fly's Pack-A-Dub. And don't worry, I'll put this all on the website. And the color I'm going to use is this lovely sulfur color, is what he calls it, right here. And if you ordered this dubbing from Jim over at Fiber Dubbing Flies, Jim and Paul, they're great guys. They hand dye and card all this alpaca themselves. And really, really good stuff. This color is just absolutely vibrant. The new one, the new packaging that they have, they're more in the model of the Semperfly little containers that the dubbing is straight across in little squares instead of having the little hole there. I'm just going to dub this right on. Nice fine little noodle here. Just a touch more on there. Not much. And we're going to make that noodle. Now, I'm going to wrap that noodle on there. And start here at the back. Wrap it around. Try not to kill the camera there. For those of you who make videos, you know how hard this is to do without killing the camera. Now that I'm past the point, I can cheat because I do have a Norvise. And get my rip thread out of there. If you have a rotary vise, you can do that as well. If you don't, you're just going to have to wrap it a little bit by hand. I'm going to put a tiny bit more on there. Remember, tiny little pinches of dubbing. I mean, I don't know if you can see how little that is right there. I'm watching the monitor, and the monitor goes backwards from the opposite movement of what I'm doing. So we'll get that in there. Just a pinch more. Just get that up closer to those wings. I don't want a lot. This is a very thin mayfly. You see one out on the water, you know that they are thin. Now, a sulfur is not to be confused with a yellow stonefly or a golden stonefly. What I'm doing with the ribbing here is I'm just doing nice, even wraps of that thread, and we're getting that thread down in there. And it's almost barely imperceptible. Now, I'm telling you, these flies, when you see them on the water, they are indeed bright yellow, and to the point that you almost cannot see the detail of the fly unless you get up close to it, which if you can, I thoroughly encourage you to do that. The other component of these flies is their dun-colored wings, and like many mayflies, they have very fine, almost a bluish-gray wing, and that's simply because their wings are that translucent. Some guys will tie these with bright yellow wings. You don't have to. So what I'm using here is a little bit of a whiting saddle, size 14. I know that's hard to see in this camera. prep the feather just a little bit. A little fluff. Those extra fibers off. There we go. It's a little stroke there to get it in the right place. And what I've got here is I'm shorter on one side than I am the other. Just put that down. Catch that hackle right there. Bring my thread to the front. Hackle this around, and I'm going to put several wraps right here. It looks like it's probably going to be about 4 or 5. Somebody asked me recently, how many wraps do you always put? And I had to tell them that it's hard to say because it's based on the actual feather. Just adjust that. So once I've got 5 wraps behind, I've got 3 wraps in front, and I don't want to crowd that eye. I'm going to bring it up here. Wrap my feather in there. Now, if you've been following me a lot, you know that at this point I really like to put a half hitch here. And I like to use my half hitch tool to just kind of push all these extra fibers back a little bit. And there's a lot of folks who tie a lot of dry flies that can do this without using a half hitch tool, but I know that this works. Okay, almost there. Now I'm going to pull my wings, separate them just a little bit. It looks lovely. Now I'm going to reach in here and grab my half hitch tool. About a 4-turn half hitch right there. And somebody asked me about this tool the other day. And this is, if you can see this, this is a cuticle trimmer. And you can buy them at any drugstore over in the health and beauty aids department. They're wonderful. And you see how easy that pops it, other than messing up with your scissors. The final part of this, let's trim this wing up. And so I'm going to just trim it a little bit above my hackle. So that gives me about 2 times the hook gape in for the wing. And that one's a little square, so I'm just going to nip it a little curled there. I'm just going to push those down a little bit. And that, my friends, is my Yellow Sallie Fly. It's great. They're all over the place on the upper Rapidan, the Rappahannock right now. Fabulous little bug. Have fun with it. Go out. Catch lots of fish. All right. Talk to you later. Again, this is Michael Taggart, AttainableFlies.com.